Talking about the Houthis, okay?
This morning, new fears the war with Iran could be expanding, with the Iran-backed Houthis from Yemen now threatening to block Saudi oil from transiting another key waterway, this one connecting the Red Sea to the Indian Ocean. With traffic in the Strait of Hormuz already slowing to a crawl, cutting off the Red Sea could cause oil prices to spike even further, and gas prices now more than $4 a gallon as well. This as overnight, the U.S. launching the 10th straight night of strikes on Iran, while Iran...
Listen, as you guys know, I am an international commerce giant, a shipping magnate. I love commerce. I love free markets. The freer the market, the freer the people. And a part of my belief system, a fundamental plank of my belief system, is the idea that all straits must be open at all times. So obviously, this is, as we are all a part of this international shipping, import, export community here, this is devastating. Because now a second strait is on the verge of being blocked. The Ansar Allah movement in Yemen is now retaliating against Saudi Arabia. Those cufflinks make it look a lot more believable. Yes. Look, cufflinks. Do you see that? Would someone who is not an international commerce giant, would someone like that not... I mean, would someone have cufflinks if they didn't love international commerce? For what it's worth, I waited for you for your stream today to see some actual meta news. There was nothing worth consuming from domestic U.S. media.
launches strikes far beyond its borders. Air raid sirens echoing here in Jordan. 6 missiles and 5 drones intercepted overnight. This after 3 U.S. service members were killed or presumed dead in that Iranian attack on a U.S. base in Jordan late last week. Video circulates that massive explosion, a fireball erupting, debris raining down. 2 of the soldiers killed identified as 19-year-old Private Isabella Gonzalez of Texas and 25-year-old First Lieutenant Tyler James Fian of Hawaii. In addition to those fatalities, 100 service members have been wounded in just the past few weeks, although most returned to duty. CENTCOM has also identified the soldier killed in Iraq during a controlled detonation of an Iranian drone. He's Army Sergeant Michael Swinton, 30 years old, of Fayetteville, North Carolina, the father of 2 young children. And thus far, these U.S. strikes have not deterred the Iranians, and there are questions as to what President Trump will do to try to end this 5-month war he predicted would be over in a matter of weeks. Whit. And
Martha, Secretary Hegseth and the chairman of the Joint...
I truly do not know where we go from here. I've talked about this extensively every single day for the last 150 days at this point. And even before Operation Epic Fury started, I kept explaining over and over again that this would be devastating. And plenty of much smarter people have talked about the escalation trap. Shout out to Robert A. Pape. Shout out to Mearsheimer and numerous other academics that looked at the situation and thought that going along with Israel's interests here would be devastating for America. America has deteriorated its force projection capabilities. America has betrayed its allies, its key allies in the region, left them defenseless. Countries all around the world are taking a cold, hard look at their security relationships, their security contracts, which don't necessarily defend these nations from hostile foreign adversaries, but instead turn them into missile sponges. That's the new meta. That's the lesson that we have taught the rest of the world. Meanwhile, after 130 days or so, given the crisis that was imminent with the global oil markets, the United States of America decided to go back to a ceasefire pattern and try to deal with Iran through diplomacy. many people, myself included, were very skeptical about America's interests. There were some others, like Trita Parsi, for example, who were far more positive about this deal. It turns out J.D. Vance and numerous other officials openly revealed that the MOU wasn't a real investment in a long-standing peace, but instead, the memorandum of understanding was simply to get an extension. But the problem still remains. The American strategic petroleum reserves are in critical levels, nearing 300 million barrels. Once it reaches below 300 million barrels, once it reaches 150 million barrels, it's over. The salt caverns that these strategic petroleum reserves are stockpiled inside of will actually crater. There's a compounding effect once it gets to 150 million. These are the lowest levels since the 80s that we have seen. All signs point to a crisis that is imminent. America is going to inevitably have to stop exports, which will have dramatic consequences for Europe. Okay, because the way that oil is traded in the international market as a commodity is a little bit more complex than people think it is, right? It's not like when we're constantly refining oil and we're shipping it out. We already have extended contracts with other countries. America is an export country, right? America is an exporter, an oil exporting nation. We could stop those oil exports, but if we stop those oil exports in order to make sure we normalize our oil and gas prices here in the United States of America, we would basically destroy the European markets. We would destroy all these other markets that we're selling the oil to right now. So the likelihood that we will stop exports is, I mean, that's a real crisis. That's a real moment of panic for the rest of the world, right? Especially at a time when the Asian markets are heavily reliant on oil coming from the United States of America because the Strait of Hormuz is closed, which is where they were getting the majority of their oil from. Then a separate crisis taking place here with Russia. Ukraine has successfully gained leverage with their additional strikes on critical oil and gas infrastructure inside of Russia. Ukraine has been able to pepper and strike Russian oil tankers, Russian gas tankers. This is heading down. This is basically making the pressure worse. It's actually feeding into the volatility in the international energy markets. A terrifying prospect. So knowing everything that we just talked about, which of course the American side is privy to this information as well, why are we still striking Iran? It doesn't make sense. Why have we not gotten back to the negotiations table? Why have we not realized that the only way out of this is diplomacy? Because if there's two methods here for the American side, you either get back, you beg the Iranians back to the negotiations process, which, for the record, the hardliners have been vindicated over and over again. The hardliners were initially vindicated when America struck Iran, decapitated its leadership structure, and then the hardliners, the IRGC, took control over the situation. And through their Mosaic defense system, they were able to fight back and claw back tremendous amounts of leverage by closing the Strait of Hormuz. That leverage is never going away. They will forever maintain. No sense for the Iranians to give up this economic nuclear option that they now have at their disposal. It makes no sense. They fought for it. They bled for it. Why the fuck would they give it up? Of course they're not going to give it up. And America understands that they're not going to give it up, which is part of the reason why the MOU itself didn't make a whole lot of sense, where I guess they just wanted a brief moment of respite so they can re-up, rearm, and then go back to war. But Iran, on the other side, also had the same opportunity to rearm, to rebuild, and therefore Iran also is in a better position overall. And every day that goes by, Every day that goes by that this war continues, every day that goes by that the Strait of Hormuz is closed, every day that goes by where we're digging deeper and deeper into our strategic petroleum reserves, Iran is gaining more leverage. And not only are they gaining more leverage, they're also moving certain chess pieces on the board to their own advantage as well. One of the things in the last 9 days since the war resumed, one of the things that Iran has been able to do successfully is they shut off America's eyes and ears that Israel was utilizing in the region by blowing up radar installations and blowing up the American early advanced warning systems in the entire region, right? They did this in Bahrain, Kuwait, UAE, Saudi Arabia. They did this all around the region in the Gulf nations. The last piece of the puzzle was Jordan. So since the MOU fell apart, Iran has been continuously bombing installations and American assets in the Gulf countries that remain. But Iran has also put the crosshairs on Jordan in a way that they hadn't before. Because a lot of the American assets moved to Jordan because Jordan is the last line of defense for Israel. Jordan has a security relationship with Israel. Jordan has a lot of the remaining anti-air defense systems in between Iran and Israel. And therefore, Iran has been blowing up Jordanian installations now and blowing up American assets in Jordanian bases. Now, a lot of people will look at that and go, why are they blowing up Jordan? This doesn't make sense. Well, part of the reason why they're blowing up Jordan is because they are threatening Israel. They're not just attacking Jordan for no reason. I know a lot of people are confused by this, as they were initially when they were like, why are they blowing up Bahrain? Why are they blowing up the Gulf region? Aren't they supposed to be allies? It's like, no, of course not. These are nations that have a hostile foreign adversaries, military bases and military installations. Of course, they're going to blow them up. And Jordan has anti-air defense systems that defend Israel. So blowing up those anti-air defense systems in Jordan is a way for Iran to basically threaten Israel without bringing Israel back into the conflict. Israel has maintained a holding pattern since the MOU ended. They have said that this is a beneficial situation for them. America's the one that has to deal with Iran. They don't have to do anything. They're not risking their assets. They're not risking their troops. They're just sitting back and waiting, right? That's the Israeli side. There was a 5-hour security conference that Benjamin Netanyahu put together just last night. Israel obviously is very fearful about the Jordanian incursions, the Jordanian strikes, because, again, they obviously understand that Jordan plays a profoundly important role in Israel's security. And then, to add on to the chaos, you now have the Houthis successfully forcing not one, but 2 Saudi ships to return back to their ports. This is one aspect of their blockade. The Houthis could also start threatening the other ports that the Saudis utilize in order to get their oil tankers out. If they were to do that, they would effectively shut down all Saudi oil tankers. They would destroy the Saudi economy. They would destroy the rest of the Gulf's shipments of oil. They could strike the pipeline, the east-west pipeline that currently exists that takes the oil from the refineries that are on the Persian Gulf side, that ships that oil directly to the Yanbu port, where that oil is then put into barrels and into tankers that will get out of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. If they were to threaten the Yanbu port, they could effectively shut down all Saudi oil shipments. This is a terrifying prospect. Now, I will say this. Perhaps people will find this, especially in this community, a little bit controversial. I don't think, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think it's a good bet to underestimate the Ansar Allah movement. I think they're a wild card through and through. But I will say this. I don't think they have the necessary tools to keep up a blockade. I think that their forces have been attrited fairly reliably in the last Operation Prosperity Guardian tit for tat, where America basically had to pull the white flag of defeat and surrender and cut a side deal with the Houthis to no longer fight with the Houthis, to no longer bomb Sanaa in exchange for the Houthis no longer hitting American naval assets. But I will say, I don't think they have the necessary supplies to keep up a major conflict. I don't know, but I suspect that's part of the reason why they've been so restrained. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's also part of the reason why it was very important for Saudi Arabia to ensure that there is no direct air travel between Tehran and Sanaa. Because if they were to open up, if they were to allow Iran to be able to send civilian shipments, like if the Saudis were to let up on their blockade on Yemen, all of a sudden, Iran could potentially start shipping more and more missiles, drones, and things that the Houthis, I'm sure, need to re-up and rearm. Having said that, for many of the international shippers, all you need is a couple ships that get hit by drones for them to decide this is too costly for us to insure. Because shipping is not just about the bravery of the actual captain; it's also about insurance. And most insurers are not going to. Most insurers are just not going to insure ships if the Houthis are striking them, right? So that usually stops. That usually halts most commercial shipping. But yes, ships loaded with Saudi oil are now being turned around at Bab el-Mandeb. Saudi oil is no longer transiting the Strait of Hormuz or Bab el-Mandeb. If the 5 Red Sea ports start getting targeted, especially Yanbu, which is a major Saudi port, it will become nearly impossible for Saudi Arabia to export oil and import dry goods via waterways. The only alternative, in the absence of them striking the ports, because again, the Houthis have not, as far as I understand, they have yet to strike their ports. They have not struck their ports. They've just told Saudi oil tankers to turn around. 2 of them have this morning. The only other option for them, in the absence of the Houthis striking their ports, is to try to go through the Red Sea, to go north, obviously. And from what I understand, within the Suez Canal, which obviously has limitations on these like major oil tankers passing through it, one of the things that they do is very inefficient, but they'll dump the oil tankers, like they'll dump some of the oil on one side of the canal and then transit it by land, and then put the oil back into the tankers. Is a long, convoluted, and complex process that obviously adds a lot of time. It's very costly. It's very expensive. So many of the they'll offload it and then they'll unload it one more time. But in order to basically, unload and then load the oil barrels, making it far less efficient of a process. It's just not going to happen. It's too costly. It's too inefficient. People would probably rather wait it out. So Donald Trump is doing the classic Trump thing, though, and he's apparently blaming Jordan for being struck.
They did slip something through in Jordan, and if we had other operators, would not happened, unfortunately. But because we have the best equipment in the world, we've stopped almost everything. But when you let other people do your job, with the United States, we let other people do the job, and sometimes it doesn't work out so well. But they did slip something through in Jordan.
Yeah, it's their fault. It's their fault. It's our weapons, by the way. So the new meta is Pickaxe Mountain. Pickaxe Mountain is an even deeper nuclear facility. I guess it's like Israel is in Trump's ear again. Israel is, I suspect, the one that told Trump that if you strike Pickaxe Mountain with bunker buster bombs, like that could that would teach Iranians a lesson. It's unbelievably stupid. It's incredibly stupid, but the expectation from these morons is to get dumber and dumber. Trump says the U.S. will be hitting Pickaxe Mountain in Iran pretty soon, very heavily, and there's nothing they can do about it. What can Trump realistically accomplish by striking the so-called Pickaxe Mountain, where more than 13,000 U.S. airstrikes over 40 days failed to destroy Iran's underground missile bases or stop it from continuing to launch missiles and drones? The strategy runs on delusion. Doesn't make any sense. None of it makes sense. It's funny they called the mountain notorious. Israel believes Iran moved nuclear material inside of notorious Pickaxe Mountain site last year. Also funny how much they're signaling the strikes ahead of time. Whatever's inside Pickaxe Mountain is probably out by now. No, I doubt it. I don't think they signal their strikes ahead of time because they expect the things to be moved around. I suspect that if there's any nuclear materials inside of Pickaxe Mountain, they would probably try to hit it if the Iranians were dumb enough to try to offload it or to ship it elsewhere. So, as I said yesterday, and I don't know why people refuse to recognize this, but a lot of people haven't really considered the unlikely scenario in which America basically destroys the previous nuclear America has not tested the nuclear option, right? There's a taboo around it, the nuclear taboo. Let's say America decides to eviscerate the previous nuclear taboo. Now we're living in a totally new world. I think it's unlikely regardless. But what has not been considered here is whether or not this would actually stop Iran. I do not believe that this would stop Iran at all. Don't even joke, lad. I'm not joking. I mean, this is the final stage. You either send in ground troops, which are very unlikely and very costly, or you nuke. The nuclear option is the last option. I don't think America would do this, but I'm just saying, even if they were to do something so insane, there is no guarantee that Iran is going to stop if they were to actually nuke Pickaxe Mountain, okay? Like, there is no guarantee of Iranian surrender. If anything, they'll probably strike back extra hard. We've had a good 100 years where the nuclear taboo was not breached. The nuclear boundary was not penetrated. Almost a good 100 years. We didn't make it 100 years, obviously. But as far as like the strategic goals that we have, because America's goals here are obviously to force Iran to surrender. And in order to do that, they are using what remains of their military power to try to gain leverage. Okay? Obviously, a big part of it is to attrit their striking capabilities, the Iranian striking capabilities, to destroy their missile silos, their underground missile production facilities. And it's clear that they haven't actually seen a lot of success on that front. As a matter of fact, it has been a disastrous campaign, okay? A disastrous campaign. Iran has only maintained its forceful posture in the region. It's gained leverage. It controls the Strait of Hormuz with relative ease. All of this stuff is really bad for America. So why would a nuke change the strategic goals for America? Why would that actually give the United States of America more leverage? It makes no sense. Not only is it not a guarantee that the utilization of a tactical nuke on Pickaxe Mountain will actually penetrate into the deep underground facility, but you're breaching this nuclear taboo for no reason whatsoever. There's no real success here. And on top of that, even if you were to, let's say, blow up the above ground facilities and evaporate them, okay? Even if you were to maybe even penetrate the Pickaxe Mountain facilities, let's say, okay? This doesn't guarantee Iran's surrender at all. This doesn't give you leverage at all. So I don't understand what the fuck we're thinking here at all. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm very skeptical of a tactical nuke causing Iranians to capitulate to American needs. I don't think there is some secret recipe here to end this war through military means. I think there's only one way to end this war, and that is through diplomacy.